be match 5 of the day and the final match over here in the European Grandmasters, and that's probably good for our hearts, Subtle. I don't know if I could take much more of what today has offered us, in a good way, I guess, as it has been one of those crazy ones. We are going to have Hunterace versus Felkeine. Going to be coming right up, and a Warlock banned out from Felkeine, which is the zoo, the French zoo we've seen. That's going to gain some respect. Worry now as Hunterace is going to be facing down Demon Hunter here, but both, and also have that rogue in the middle there for Felkeine. So already, Sol, what do you make of this?
Damn it. It's been so long since I did that. I've been so good, so well behaved. I'm sorry, I was muted. So I was saying, it's been so long. Sorry, what was I saying? Frodan, yes. Shout outs to Frodan.
You said.
Yes, exactly. Frodan, the greatest person in the world. He was talking about this on the Americas broadcast, where he said he'd been talking to Hunterace, and Hunterace had floated the idea with him of maybe people are respecting Warrior too much and they should be banning out different things. Maybe Warlock is the ban. All these kind of things. And I was listening to Frodan tell this story, like, yep, yeah, cool story. I'm sure that's totally going to happen. And then here we are, down the line. Hunterace shows up, and he is leaving up Warrior and Demon Hunter and banning Warlock.
Not that I am one to question Hunterace and his infinite knowledge of the game, Subtle, but can I get a win rate check for Warrior, please, this weekend?
Like 78%.
Yeah. After some research, I'm feeling fairly safe in saying I think this could be wrong.
Okay.
I think leaving Warrior up is very, very scary indeed, and leaving it up to ban Zoo, I think they might not work out so well. And my main point comes from the Warlock from Hunterace, actually. I guess my question is the Warlock from Hunterace better versus Warrior and versus Zoo? Is that the question that Hunterace is answering here with this ban? I don't really know. I'm honestly caught off guard by it.
Yeah, the Galakron Warlock has got to be the kicker, right? But I do think it loses to aggressive Demon Hunter. I think that's, somewhere in the low 40s in terms of a matchup overall. Zoo matchup, not quite so sure about. But yeah, I don't think it's quite enough to me to really be on Hunterace's side here with this ban. But he's certainly a player who is willing to think outside the box and do things slightly differently. And there's a reason why he is so successful in doing it. So we will wait and see if his genius is revealed here.
Only time will tell, but we got a quick look at Hunterace's Highlander rogue here. It does contain a sprinkling of the secret and the stealth package. Not overly common as well. Even in Highlander, there's not really a consistent commitment to the Greyheart Sage and the secret list combined into Highlander. It normally still just reaches into one or the other. We see Hunterace making a bit of a new hybrid here, and I do wonder how it's going to go.
Yeah, it's kind of a luxury that you do get with the Highlander list. You just have more slots to play with, especially when you're not running that many tech cards in a Highlander version. You quite often see things like Waste Warden or that kind of stuff thrown in there, but Hunterace clearly not expecting too many great Waste Warden targets to come into this one. So no huge surprise to see the mix of rogue strategies, and we can take a look at the threat of the day, I guess. Felkeine's tempo warrior now.
I don't know.
What is going on?
No, Sol.
What is going on with these warrior names? Is TJ just trolling me on purpose now? Is that what's happening? Pick a name, jeez. But yeah, this is going to be the big story of this series for sure now. Hunterace has left this up. It's looked incredibly dominant throughout the entire weekend. It's winning even its bad matchups now with Viper in the last series. So wait and see now whether this will pay dividends for Hunterace in this series. It's a very controversial call, to say the least.
It really is. And one thing I will say about Hunterace, regardless of his decisions in not only lineups, ban strategies, overall thoughts on the game, they are listened to by many, many players, and they are almost, I won't say, not just mimicked for mimicking sake, but a lot of players do follow in his footsteps in terms of strategy, lineup, deck building. So if this pays off, maybe even more warriors allowed to play next week, which will truly scare me for the win rate of that deck.
Here we go. Felkeine is going to seize the opportunity he's been granted with both hands immediately into the deep end now with the warrior. See immediately now if this is going to be a payout for Hunterace as he queues up his rogue first and foremost. I guess we've got to notice the hat. I mean, this is a pretty sweet hat the Hunterace is rocking over here.
It is, and I don't know what I like more, honestly. Hunterace has some pretty sweet and crazy hair sometimes, but this hat I've got to approve. It's a little bit different. I feel like more players need to do this on camera. If they're going to be on camera every week for a fair few weeks, mix it up. Wear a hat.
Sure. We've definitely hit last series of the day territory, if that's what we're coming out with. Mix it up. Wear a hat.
Maybe I'll even wear a hat one day.
Whoa.
I'm kind of awkward with a headset on, I'll be honest.
Would you go hat over headset or headset over hat?
Headset over hat.
Okay.
Hat over headset would just be horrible. I've done headset over hat before because it's logical. The other way around is just silly.
I don't know. I feel like Hunterace would be a hat over headset kind of guy. He's just a maverick. He lives on the edge. He leaves up warrior.
Makes his own rules. I feel like you're not
Doesn't
a hat
live by
person,
your
though,
rules.
Sol. Am I wrong?
I'm not. My head's massive. Hats don't fit me.
I think I've
Genuinely,
never seen you
like,
wear a hat.
No. If I just get like a standard like off-the-shelf snapback or whatever, like it barely fits on my head on like the widest possible setting, as my head's just massive.
Custom-made hat.
Yeah.
Like a special shop to go to. Where all the mannequins just have giant, like, Martian type heads.
I wonder.
Oh, this is just insulting now.
Hey, you said you had a big head, not me. I'm just going off what you told me.
All right, history buff on curve just ends it, right? We've seen the evidence.
that one game.
Yep.
It's tough though, right? Okay, I'm going to be semi-serious at least. Whenever you cannot kill a challenger on board, you are fearful for your future in this game of Hearthstone. Because this can be Rampage, it can even just be Inner Rage, it can be copied with Bloodsworn Mercenary, it can be sometimes Inner Rage and copied with Bloodsworn Mercenary, in which I feel like you just lose. So, I do like this history buff just purely to just get something down that might contest this Warmaul.
Felkeine knows it. He knows history buff ends the game. That's the face of a man.
That is a face of a man, as far as I'm aware.
That was a weird... Yeah, you're right. That was a really weird place to end that... I'm sorry.
That man has a face!
You want the actual explanation?
Series of the day is definitely kicking in more for you than it is for me right now.
Come on. I was occupied logging into my spectator view, and I just kind of let my brain produce words and just hoped that it was going to make sense, and it really didn't.
I get away with this a bit more because I use the Hulk strategy of I say pretty stupid things all of the time. Therefore, you can tell less.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, though, Felkeine does have a bit of a weird choice here. He could just play a second Warmaul and kill off the Pharaoh Cat. He does have the follow-up of a Bomb Wrangler with risking gift the following turn. But instead, he's also seen history buff just get the job done, so I guess he's respecting that back.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm not kidding. History buff just ends it. So much value when you know there's lackeys in hand as well, and just more ways to generate lackeys in the future. It's just such an efficient card if you let it live.
I wonder.
It's almost like a subliminal win condition, isn't it? Because you don't really notice it happening, and then your opponent just plays out all these minions that are just bigger than they should be, and then you're dead.
Yep.
Not looking great, but maybe Ambush is Hunterace's best chance of taking down this Warmaul. He has to just load it up and hope it lives through the turn.
I guess the question is, what does that play tell Hunterace about Felkeine's hand and his options right now? If he essentially threw away one of his premium cards to deal with history buff. So what does that mean he doesn't have in terms of answers?
weird, right? Because normally when you heavily protect a card like that, you're expecting buffs, copies, changes, its rampages.
Yeah.
But also, those would have been good on that turn a lot of the time too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a weird question. Again, Caster Vision, but it would say that there's just a build-up into something stronger, that Felkeine does not want that 3-4 farm in the minions he wants to play. Maybe, such as Bomb Wrangler, right? Because you couldn't play Bomb Wrangler into that board without an Inner Rage, for example, because the history buff just kills it, which is obviously terrible. So maybe there's a reasonable read on a Bomb Wrangler. Maybe he's defending a Korkron, which can be used a little bit later on for much more value than killing a history buff.
So
Definitely a tough one.
Zephyrus Goblin Lackey here is actually pretty strong, just in terms of the turn on board. Problem is the Zephyrus outcome itself, like the choices, just aren't going to be particularly strong here.
Would it? Is Ooze just fun?
Your wish is my suggestion.
A lot of
Maybe.
Ooze with this board, right?
I would imagine so, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a reasonable outcome. If the trick is to kill the challenger, then
Yeah. I like it.
also use the Ooze instead of the Zephyrus and Shadow Step.
Yep. No, that all makes a ton of sense. I like it.
Now though, Felkeine does have his Risky Skipper, Bomb Wrangler, and Bold. Drops one extra.
You fell right into my trap.
Oh, the Kobold as well to guarantee the kill on the poison.
Yeah. I do. This is one of my favorite voice line interactions in the game, where you Risky Skipper into an ambush that's played, and then the ambush guy comes out and says, "Haha, you fell right into my trap," and then you just blow him up immediately.
Yeah, the Risky Skipper's like, did I?
Whose trap was it really, buddy?
Yeah, it's like the heist episode of Rick and Morty. When they're just like, yeah, but then I prepared for this way. And it just keeps going forever and ever.
I wonder.
Imagine Rick and Morty references in 2020. Come on.
The only time I've ever made one.
They
Get shot down straight away. Wow.
Yep. That's actually not true. We talk about baby X and regular X all the time. Literally constantly.
Ugh.
Choose
Weaker
soon.
hand, doesn't it, for Hunterace?
It does a bit, yeah.
I have Hearthstone cards. That's just pretty much all you can say about this hand so far. It does get pretty good with 7 into 8. That's definitely not bad. It just looks like a weird hand for Rogue to have.
Yeah. And Highlander Rogue just be like this sometimes. There is some mediocre card quality cards in there, and then of course you're generating a bunch of stuff as well, which is sometimes pretty mediocre as well.
I wonder if this is ever actually Rampage on the Risky Skipper. Go face, and then you can just play the bomb. Along with the Inner Rage. Maybe that's just too little.
What's happening? It sounded like you were just suggesting cards at random. What does that play accomplish?
You probably kill off the 4-3. You could guarantee it, obviously. And it just puts a very awkward minion on the board in the form of the Risky Skipper, and the Bomb Wrangler is still a 2-2.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I like that plan a lot more if you're just trading the bombs into the Frozen Shadow Weaver. I don't see the merit in going face with the bombs in that position.
That was a speaking word before my brain really thought about it.
Fair enough.
But this was the outcome I was really aiming for, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Vendetta.
Ooh. Tyrion Vendetta activator. Beautiful.
Is that both skippers down? Or just one?
It's just one.
I
Both.
wonder.
Yeah.
And is this actually just worth a... Is it ever just flick with Vendetta?
I do like flicking Risky Skippers.
Maybe you could even hold the Vendetta for next turn. The Vendetta, then Tyrion.
Yeah, I don't think... If you are using the flick on the Risky Skipper, I don't think there's a good Vendetta target this turn.
Blood Mercenary on the bomb wrangler, is that ever scary enough?
I don't think so.
But if he's
Choose
not
Yeah.
going to flick that, I imagine we are going to see the rat golem.
Yeah, I think those are the two lines. Vendetta the skipper and play the Wrapped Golem, or flick the Risky Skipper and Vendetta nothing. I think those are the two plays I probably could have got behind.
A little bit unfortunate that the Scarab just like easily allows the bomb wrangler to get more value. Oh, and there's a Risky Skipper off the top as well. So now, even at worst, Risky Skipper injured Volbear is just an actually fine
More
turn.
left in me.
Yeah.
Hold it. Opens up
Yeah,
more damage to face.
Exactly. Developing the Ankar here seems more important. Thins out his deck by another pretty useless Pirate at this point. Gets him closer to Korkrons and Grommash to be able to end the game.
And now Felkeine's going to get the news.
Put your faith
Ruins in
the
town.
light.
There it is. Finally, Felkeine's in business. Nice. All right.
Look at it, I just love it. Felkeine's like, just the big nods there from just that insane bomb. That was good.
Someone's got to lead the charge.
Okay.
I'll show you who's boss.
The trade happens, right? Yeah. You trade first, then you Sky Raider, then you Battle Rage.
Yep. You get the two Sky Raiders as 1-1 pretty cleanly. Only a mediocre bomb. Well, bad bomb, I guess. One to face, but still in this position Felkeine's in. I think he's got to be pretty happy with this turn.
Mass illegality. Alright, that'll do. That's my turn. Over to you.
I will act as your scale. Who in their right mind hides loot? Double time and double pay.
Hunterace trying his best here to counter pressure. But the 5 damage breaks through the taunt that's on board at the moment, which means that Korkron in a Rage Bloodsworn Mercenary will just end it.
And as the French like to say,
Your
Le lethal.
flaws are your strength.
Felkeine gonna win.
Yes.
Felkeine gonna win. Game number 1. Wow, what a game. Even with the Tyrion, even with the Wrapped Golem, I do think that bomb going off on the Wrapped Golem was MVP there. just absolutely sniping it out of nowhere. Really just opened up a very clean way for Felkeine to deal with the board. So looking pretty strong and already unimpressed with this strategy of Warrior being left up. So as it just swoops straight in. Game number 1, 1 win. Let's move along.
It might be worth a reminder here that, you know, it was the second Risky Skipper that really punished Hunterace in the end. You know, it was able to clear his board and blow up the bombs, which then cleared the Wrap Golem, and it activated the Battle Rage, and the Battle Rage drew the lethal, etc., etc. Hunterace did have the option to deny that with the flick by removing the second Risky Skipper play from the equation completely. That does sacrifice him a lot of tempo because he would only be developing a 4-4 instead of a 7-5. So certainly I can see the arguments from his position. But just, you know, in the results-oriented sample size of one world, it is potentially true that he got punished.
Yeah, and also just he would have still had the Vendetta available for the following turn, right? So although it wouldn't have gained him as much pressure on board, he would have still had a removal tool the turn after that he could have maybe caught up with because he only played a 4-4 turn before that. So,
Right.
Anyway, that was just game number 1. Okay, now moving over to the old Tempo Demon Hunter. And as you can see here on the screen, this is not the Fury package, so a bit of an earlier build here as we've seen more and more popularized going forward. Demon Sidekick is there though, unlike we saw from RDU and Tice, I believe. Trace also be on the Demon Hunter. And is that pretty much card for card? I did only quickly glance. I can check it out.
Hunterace has a mana burn right there, which Felkeine certainly does not. So there is at least 1 or 2 differences. Hunterace is also playing 2 spectral sights, and Felkeine is only running 1.
Yeah, a couple of little bit of differences there, and again, I do still feel like Demon Hunter's got a way to go before it really gets locked down in terms of just these are the 30 cards. Mainly, it has access to so many cards that are powerful. Maybe those cards actually never get locked down because certain matchups and certain metas, Mana Burn is better than some other cards, right? Same with the Consume Magic. We saw RDU and Tiespring.
Yeah, for sure. I do find it interesting, just even within variations of the aggressive Demon Hunter, we're seeing variations now. And, you know, Chad Nervig was recently tweeting, you know, one of the Hearthstone game developers was tweeting that he felt like, you know, Demon Hunter was so good and there was actually unexplored, greedier versions of the deck, like mid-range Demon Warlock, big Demon Warlock, big Demon Hunter, even, that, you know, players weren't even experimenting with. So, you know, this class does just have a whole bunch of powerful cards. But Hunterace and Felkeine here settled on a pretty similar thing here, which is the fast, trimmed down, lean and efficient version of the aggro Demon Hunter.
Let's get into it. I will say, though, we talked a lot about Beaming Psychic and Demon Hunter over the weekend. And in the mirror, it probably rings just as true, if not more so, with Beaming Psychic available for Felkeine here, along with this Blazing Battle Mage. He can, over the course of a turn or so, try and build a 2/4 with
The fires of vengeance
good shape
burn bright.
against mirrored counterpart.
Yes, certainly against these Battle Fiends coming down from the other side. Ooh, but the sidekick off the top now from Hunterace might have just swung the advantage back his way, because he now has the advantage of the sidekick buff on a scaling minion, whereas Felkeine will just have it here on his vanilla 2/2.
Oh, unless, as the back and forth continues, you draw I-Beam. Able to peel this off a little bit quickly. The downside, of course, is if he uses his hero power to finish off this and trade off the 1/2. Does mean his battle mage does get cleaned up by the hero power in response to Hunterace, but still, I think with one side dealt with, that's a trade Felkaine's willing to deal with.
Yeah, for sure. You can see exactly how efficient both of these decks are in the early game, and they're absolutely built to be this way. This is, you know, again, the trimmed down version of the deck. It kind of amused me. We had a sort of little debate internally about what we were going to call these variations of the deck, which, you know, just for our own record keeping, for the broadcast purpose, they're just all kind of tempo Demon Hunters. And then eventually we'll start calling it Fury Hunter instead, which, you know, that doesn't seem that appropriate. Shout outs to Fury Hunter, I guess.
Yeah, that was my suggestion.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Priestess of Fury. That's the main card difference. Fury Hunter. It's funny because it's also a player name. I thought it ticks all the boxes for deck name. With TJ naming deck, so we don't know what they're going to do.
Okay, not happy. Does not seem to be liking his position right now.
Hunterace definitely looks like Hunterace
I
has the
grow
initiative here,
impatient.
mainly because this Battle Fiend stuck long enough to make a usage of a quite big attack, and I think Felkeine might just be unhappy with the potential of hero power and the Battle Fiend killing his buffed up Battle Fiend. That's for the foreseeable future. Felkaine's whole board right now.
And maybe that is what...
The Twin Slice and Satyr is even more powerful for Hunterace.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether maybe that's what Felkaine's upset about. Maybe he's considering that a mistake of even just, you know, buffing the Battle Fiend, because it's kind of the autopilot decision. Like, maybe just with the way the breakpoints went down, because a 1/4 is kind of useless against a functional 3/2 and a hero power, or a 3/2 and a Twin Slice. Maybe he feels like the buff should have gone on the Sigil Runner instead.
Well, for what feels like the 100th Battle Fiend of this single game of Hearthstone.
Yeah.
Felkeine at least does have something playable. There was the scary point, although unlikely. Felkeine say drew another Warglaives, another Skull, you know, even a Bladebound Adept or something where this whole turn is hero power pass, and that is scary indeed. Does have to pick his poison here as well, because he either kills the Battle Fiend and holds off on his own, or he gets to kill this Satyr Overseer. He's going to choose to leave the Satyr up. Scary, but a correct decision, I think.
Yeah. It's a very, very scary value trade to make for sure. But he knows, Felkeine does, that he can just swing back next turn. He can clear up plenty of 2/2s if he needs to with the Warglaze of Azzinoth. So I think this is a smart choice.
Demons?
Double Umberwing.
Demons.
I wonder if Hunterace ever casts both. Ever worth considering?
I'd say probably not.
It's a big board.
It is, I guess.
We're with
I think I like it. It's got nothing else to do.
Well, that's what I'm concerned about. Like, you need some real heat next turn now, right?
Yeah, I think my point is front-loading it all in one turn
Yeah, no,
makes
no,
it
no,
much
you're
more
right,
difficult
you're
for
right,
Demon
you're
Hunter
right.
to deal with as opposed to a turn-by-turn sort of piecemeal basis.
Yeah, you're actually right. My thinking there was nonsense. The much better way to compensate for having a bad turn next turn is just to load it all up right now.
'Cause now suddenly Warglaives looks way worse. Because although you can kill off a few of these things, it's not going to do all of them, and even if it is, or get close to it, swinging Warglaive of Azzinoth into one. But also on the flip side of that, you don't want your opponent to have a board of 1/1s. They're still problematic.
Is he actually? He's going to go all the way through and then Twin Slice as well?
I love the fact that this is all leading to both players just having Skull of Gul'dan to restart the game in the middle.
That's so sick. Just gets him for 7. It clears the board so much that Hunterace has to take 7 again. Yup.
And in this kind of tit-for-tat play, Felkeine gets to Skull first, which is a huge deal.
It's enormous, yeah. As
It's
long as
just
he
a
gets
turn ahead.
playables.
grow in
Yeah, he needs to get
patient.
playables off his Skull, though, and that's just basically what this whole deck is tuned to do. He doesn't have the Priestess of Fury and all that business in there that he can hit from this and not be able to play. He doesn't have the Fell Screamer that would only cost 1 after the discount. Like, his deck is just hyper-tuned to draw playable cards off Skull of Gul'dan for 0.
I grow impatient.
And he has to just suck it up here, doesn't he? Hero power, take extra 7, buff this demon dog, and say, well, at least I have a board.
Demon Dog? Is that what you call this?
And like a demon dog. Looks like one.
Does it?
What animal would you liken it to?
Well, it's like, I mean, it's clearly some kind of avian creature. And I think its face looks more like a cat than a dog, personally.
Dogs can have wings.
Dogs can have wings.
Horses can, dogs can't.
Okay. Most importantly, it's just a Fellwing. That's what it is.
Chaos
Wow.
Strike, although a playable, not quite good enough, but I will say Felkeine has a very good turn next turn. Metamorphosis, Chaos Strike, Gravebound Adept, Hero.
Is lethal a good Hearthstone turn, Raven?
Yeah. Oh. And what does Hunterace even need off the Dream Skull here? I'm gonna check his list. Oh, and there's the question mark I keep talking about. No I-beams for Hunterace. And without I-beams, game's just we can see the game's just over, right?
Yep.
Don't think
That's
there's
how he
anything
can. That's how he can make room for Consume Magic, Second Spectral Sight, all of that stuff that he's playing. He's cutting out those I-beams.
And this is one of the key differences when we look at Demon Hunter builds, even within the tempo variants, is that I-beams, although cuttable in many matchups, make the world of difference in the mirror match if one player has them and one does not.
Right.
Yeah, close
Okay,
effort
gets
there.
the good news.
Yeah, close effort there from Hunterace, putting them all the way down to 5, but Felkeine has maybe the most powerful 7-mana turn I've seen for a very long time, with effectively unlimited damage. He's going to take game number 2 with the Demon Hunter. Going 2-0 up versus Hunterace. He's not looking too happy right now. Still must be feeling good for Felkeine. And now, Demon Hunter played and won. Warrior played and won. He two most banned classes that have been left up have been played and have won. There is only one more left for Felkeine in this series if he wants to take this one.
Yeah, and Hunterace right on the cusp now of a 0-2 start to Grandmasters and Season 3, essentially. And the round robin stage, at least, definitely would not have been most people's prediction at this point, but it was in sometimes just a little part of the story last year as well, where he was a slow starter in places, an underperformer in places. Obviously, he ended up casting the global finals with me instead of actually performing in them through a very strange turn of events in the long run. But still,
don't hurt me like this, Sol.
what are you gonna do? Visas be visaing, Raven. What do you want from me?
That old saying.
Yeah.
Felkeine does have his rogue left to take a win with his Highlander rogue. So again, both these players actually favor Highlander rogue, it seems, overall. So Hunterace is bringing it, right? I'm not making that up. Yes, he is.
Hunterace has it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So interesting again, just we see not only the mixed bag of rogue, but what will be nice and very interesting for me, at least, at the end of this weekend, Sottle, is which rogue did the least bad, I guess, is the outcome for the win rates. As rogue is suffering this weekend, but it will be good with a very, 2, 3 archetypes, maybe? Maybe we could push to 4, but probably really just 3 with Secret, Stealth, and then Highlander, I think, is a fair 3-way split. Just to see which has performed the best and worst overall. But both these players favouring that Highlander. But for now, Felkeine's going to be on that, whereas Hunterace is going to kick it off with his Demon Hunter.
Yeah, and there is an extra tool or two that the Highlander deck can throw into the equation that the regular 2-ofs deck cannot. But on the flip side of that, there is also these like messy cards like Dragon Queen Alexstrasza that you can pick up in your opening hands as well to really throw you for a loop. As well as, of course, only one Backstab, only one Seal Fate. I think that's a big reason why you see Felkeine keeping Eviscerate here, because I don't think that would ever be a keep in the 2-ofs deck when you're looking for 2 Spy Mistress, 2 Backstabs, 2 Seal Fate, all of the other good cards in the early game as well. Felkeine knows that he just doesn't have as consistent a removal in this version of the deck, so he just keeps an Eviscerate to be good enough.
Yeah, and I just had a note here from Mr. Statsman Lorinda himself, in that up until we started today in Europe, inclusive of APAC, so I believe that Galakrond, let's have a look, Secret variant is 36% win rate, Stealth 33% win rate, and Highlander 45%. So Highlander seems to be doing the, like I phrased it earlier, the least bad so far out of all the rogues. So interesting, and maybe something at least I imagine you, Sottle, probably wouldn't expect.
No. In the interest of just fighting my corner, I will say that the Highlander does have a significantly smaller sample size than particularly the Secret. There are 40 games of Secret Rogue versus 11 of Highlander logged in this, so not necessarily the most cut and dry stats, but still very interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, it's probably fair that if you really rounded it out, just roughly, that they're all kind of doing just bad, I think is a fair end point as to that analysis. But always interesting to look at the actual numbers, right? So thanks, Lorinda, for that. Very timely. So far, though, Felkeine is on board and Hunterace is not quite yet. So, going back to your point about the Eviscerate, though, I do like it a lot, because if you forget that the card is called Eviscerate and what it generally does, and see 2 mana kill a Demon Hunter minion in your opening hand for this list, I think you are okay taking that.
Things just got exciting, Raven. This hand is coming together here for Felkeine. That is a big old whiff, though. Ugly upgrade into the Garden Gnome. Still, 28 health.
Grow impatient.
On board.
Not much for Hunterace to do, is there, right now?
Yeah, seems about right.
Weird though, right? Because that seemed more like a play for something to do than particularly locking out anything strong from Felkeine.
Yeah, agreed.
Because really, you're looking for that turn 6 mana burn, right? Maybe even turn 7 with Galakrond.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess turn 7 more consistently because of the whole like men on board like Togwaggle and Lackey from him.
Yeah. I think Hunterace just has to be extremely scared of falling too far behind on board here, and I think he appreciates if he doesn't fall too far behind, he can actually start using these 5-cost cards to catch up. Ooh. Just, you know, one by one, piece by piece. Blade-bound Adept or Warglaves can pick this board apart, whereas if he'd have let Felkeine develop a 4-drop or 5-drop or something in that position, or I guess 4-drop since 4 mana, that's how that works, then he would have been a much more difficult position.
Interestingly enough, although this is starting to look much better for Hunterace than it was in the earlier game, there's still an issue of Highlander Rogue specifically gets so much stronger as the game goes on than it does in any early part of the game. That makes sense. Mainly because you're working towards big turns like Alexstrasza. Zephyrus with more mana available is just stronger and more flexible, obviously, than it is with less mana available. So there is a point where, although Hunterace seems to be fighting back and does have access to a good amount of damage, Felkeine is also just creeping towards some of these power turns.
Felkeine just said, okay, I take 6 this turn. To develop the Mana Saber.
Demons?
That's a pretty big call.
It does unlock Togwaggle.
It does.
And there's still the emergency flick if something like crazy happens, i.e. I guess it wouldn't happen, but maybe a big Satyr turn or something weird like that. It's not going to happen because it has access to it with that mana, but still there's emergency if needed.
But you just can't Togwaggle next turn anyway, right? Because that would mean taking 12 from this, hitting it. You get hit this turn, then you hit it with your face next turn to remove it?
I guess more likely it's just opening up a bigger Van Cleave.
Sure.
Now we can 1-drop, 3-drop, 3-drop.
From nothing.
Now you can 1-drop, 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop.
1-drop, 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 1-drop.
Nope.
Is that too many?
It was, yeah.
I did lose count.
Oh, I don't know how many you actually said. He just doesn't have that many 1-drops.
Oh no, but could if he had them?
Right. Yeah, I have no idea how many you actually said.
I'm just going to say it was exactly correct.
Spot on. Nailed it.
Now suddenly, Mr. Van Cleef on board as an 8-8, and Demon Hunter can achieve quite a lot, Subtle, but they're going to be able to achieve enough. Both players roughly the same health. Hunterace has access and has it already equipped, of course, to that Warglaive of Azinov, but everything else just seems to cost too much, which feels like a weird thing to say when the deck only really tops out at 6.
Yeah, I've got some bad news for you if you're a Hunterace fan. Unless Hunterace removes damage from the board by using Metamorphosis exactly, he is dead.
I grow.
I guess good news if you're an America's Hearthstone fan, because it's probably going to be coming up soon.
I mean, I guess it's one of the flaws with Cutting Eye Beam, right? Is it makes your deck so linear because all of your removal uses your own face.
It really is the biggest question I've seen within the low-cut decks. I get the idea of not running Fury, right? It just makes sense getting the sidekick, getting the consistent early curve. But Eye Beam is a magnificent card. It does everything you want it to do. Cheap tempo removal and an extra bit of heal, which means you can use this weapon. It's so core to the build that does so much damage.
Chalk it up! Viva la France! Felkeine picking up the 3-0 victory over Hunterace, and who would have thought our former previous world champion in Hunterace, regarded by many to still be one of, if not the best player in the world, is going to kick this season off with a 0-2 start in round robin, Raven.
Yep, and again, it does sound like we're talking about the start of a season when we were in week 4, but it is the start of the round robin phase. The season basically made up of 2 phases. Swiss, all done, dusted. Round robin is now this weekend and the next 3. So yeah, again, great job for Felkeine, just 3-0 on Hunterace. Got to be pretty happy with that. But also, again, I think there's just a discuss not only in the ban strategy, which was ban Warlock, leave Warrior and Demon Hunter open, which whether that ends up being statistically correct or not scares me to death if I was planning on doing it. But also just some of the builds. Again, Demon Hunter, along with every other deck in the game right now, feels like there's 100 different ways to build the deck. We saw the real big difference between I-beams and not I-beams in just that one matchup alone.
You can see the results that everyone's deck building decisions and tech choices have had on their results throughout the day. Kicked things off with a pretty quick and simple victory for Pavel over Zim, and even that one win that Zim did get was the most straightforward game of Hearthstone you will ever see in your life. Then we moved on to El Calento Classico in match number 2, which unfortunately, although it was Tice's birthday, it was Calento Alpha, the original, the OG Calento, who was able to get over the line pretty quickly with a 3-1 Raven.
Yep, and then RDU taking down KC in a very scary and crazy series overall. So again, there's a few highlight matches so far that have happened today across both regions that you should check out if you missed. But that is definitely one of them, especially the ending there. And then Boston versus Viper, we had that crazy priest game in which Viper, I think, in this series played amazingly well. Just across all of the games. It was so sturdy and having just knowledge of how to approach these weird situations. Paid off greatly for him there. Of course, we did just see Felkeine take down Hunterace. It's 3-0 victory. So that's how your divisions look after the first weekend of round robin. And this is going to happen 3 more times. And then we'll decide what playoffs. Also with those relegations, which, if you can imagine, those spots currently are being filled by Zim and Casey, the auto relegations for Division B.
Yeah, those 2 players off to a really horrible start, and they are going to need to change their fortunes very, very quickly. But on the other hand, Viper, rewarded by his fantastic play, as Raven keeps talking about. He's sitting pretty at the top of Division B, and sitting at the top of Division B is markedly similar to sitting at the top of Division A. It does affect your seed going into the playoff bracket, but the eventual reward is the same. It's a trip to the playoffs, and eventually a trip, hopefully, to the World Championship from there. So Viper and Ball Control, as well as the players immediately below them, are looking in prime position, but it is only 1 week. But still, 1 week in this truncated round robin format, even though we've had kind of a longer format overall, that's a quarter of the games that you're going to play. If you've potentially more so if you had a 2-game week, just the way things break down. So it is a huge chunk of developing where your final standing is going to be.
It really is. And just a note as well, I think this week, in terms of heading into next weekend, that all the players have the work cut out for them, because I don't think anyone has really come close to just figuring it out. We saw Rogue suffer greatly over the course of this weekend, and Rogue was brought by pretty much everyone. So there's a question mark there, and once something like that happens, it has the domino effect across everything. If you don't bring Rogue, what do you bring? And then if everyone's going to do that, what's the actual bring to beat that strategy? It's never going to end, I don't think, and we're not going to solve it until maybe the very end of this season for this meta. So many ways to build the decks, so many decks to consider to bring anyway, but that is going to be it for us for the day. So thanks a lot for watching. European Grandmasters will be back next week, but for now we're going to pass it over to our lovely American hosts, Frodan and TJ, as they bring you the America's Grandmasters. So stay tuned for that. But from Saul and myself, have a good night. We'll see you next week.